Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am AC Ramos. I'm here with my good friend and other Houston real estate investor, Steve Vigil. Steve, say hi, man.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well, and we're all working through this mess.
If you're logged on right now, make sure that you do not log off because we only have a room for 100 people on this webinar, and we have over 150, 140, 150 people RSVP'd and registered for this event. So, don't log off or you might lose your spot. Of course, we're here tonight to discuss COVID-19, and which is actually SARS-2 COVID-19, which is the technical term of it and everything. And it's just been, man, dude, Steve, would you even have imagined this like 3 months ago?
I wouldn't imagine this, a month and a half ago. Actually, we had 2020 planned. We had been going through 2020, moving right along, and everything got kind of crazy overnight, it seems like. I mean, this has happened so fast. And if you hear a lot of noise in the background, my yard guys just got here and are cutting the outside. Timing, what can I say?
Right? No, I had that issue the other day with some of my yard guys going off, and I was trying to record some stuff, and you hear things, and no, don't worry about it.
So, but in the past, I don't know, 3-4 weeks now, so many things have happened, and so many changes have happened that it's totally insane, and we're very much still in a chaotic state. All the predictions and forecasts we had for 2020, throw them out the window. All bets are off with that stuff now. And so, we have been doing a lot of different things for our company, trying to get through this, trying to plan, and it's not only, I mean, it's on a day-by-day basis. You and I were talking this morning about some stuff about the PPP plan, and how we were moving forward, things we were doing. And about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we got an email from the bank that we were in line with, from one of the attorneys we're working with, and some of the rules changed again. So
that's funny. I mean, a matter of fact, Sethi's on the line with she's on the phone in the other room with one of our bankers and friends that's at the bank, and talking about some of that stuff right now. But before we get into that, I kind of want to ask you, so how has your routine changed? Because I mean, like I mostly wholesale. You do a lot of buy and hold. I do buy and hold also, but I'm not out. You're doing a lot of rehabs. You have a lot of rehabs going on and stuff right now. How has that affected your daily activities?
Well, it's slowed down. I mean, to be quite honest about it, we have 4 properties that we were rushing madly to get finished, so we could get them listed and try and start selling them before they did the stay at home. And we managed to do that with properties, but it kind of went dead. I mean, it went just dead. But I will say that this week we have actually seen some pickup. We've got showings, we've got people interested in some properties. We're actually talking to one person about one property on a negotiation right now. I got an email just a little while ago that we're expecting an offer on another property. And so it gives me hope. Now, does it mean they're going to come in with a bunch of lowball offers? They might. Don't have any idea how that's going to go. We don't know what the direction of that's going to be. But I know that there's still buyers out there very active and looking. What we've got to keep in mind is this is a medical crisis. This is not an economic crisis.
Exactly.
Before all this happened, I mean, there's tons of money out there, tons of money. Now, does that mean everybody's going to go out and spend it? No. People are going to hang on to it. That's going to be the natural reaction, is to hang on to that money. Have different type, there's a whole variety of lenders out there. What lenders are still lending? What lenders have tightened their belts? I mean, it's all over the board. There's certain types of loans that have just gone off the board, not happening right now. And I actually was on a call 30 minutes ago from someone that was referred to me to try and help them out because they've got a property that they want to buy, and I don't know any details about this property. I don't know if it's a rehab. I don't have any idea. But the lenders that they've talked to said, we'll do the deal, but we need you to put 70% down. So
Oh,
yeah, exactly. So I've got to find out what that's all about. I have no idea at this point, and I don't know what lenders that he's talked to, and I don't know anything about the deal. So, and this was a guy that was coming in saying, I've got 50% to put down, thought it would be a no-brainer. But apparently that may not be the case. I don't know yet. So,
go ahead, sorry.
No, so there's things, like I said, whatever I tell you tonight of the knowledge I have so far could very well be different tomorrow, and I could be lying through my teeth tomorrow compared to what I say today. That's how crazy things are, and that's how fast things are changing. It's one of those situations where everything is 100% out of all of our control. We have no say so. Nobody cares about what my opinion is. I can't call the president. I can't call the Dr. Fucci and say, hey, this is my opinion, and it's going to matter. Nobody cares. So we just have to kind of roll with what's happening.
Yeah. Well, so we have a few wholesale deals that are in the pipeline to close, and the biggest issue we were having up until last week was some banks weren't open to be able to get payoffs and stuff like that. The title companies working it in the background trying to get all that done. That was some of the biggest issues. And then we got a call from one of our rehab buyers, and he said that the hard money lender he was using was requiring more money in the bank now, because now instead of 3 months or whatever they required in the bank, they wanted 6 or 8 months of money reserves in the bank. And they went up from 2 points to like 4 or 5 points and like 14-15%.
Doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me, but I mean, I think that's a little bit of price gouging, I think, taking advantage of the situation right now, because then you got companies out there like Jet, who I'm doing a couple deals with Jet right now, and they're staying pretty much at their same rates. I mean, maybe like it's like 3 points and 10 to 12%, something like that. But it's relatively the same as it was before. I mean, they haven't skyrocketed. So I mean, that was kind of caught me off guard on that with one of our wholesale deals. I do know I don't know if you know that we have this really big rehab that just like literally this week we just finished up, and we're putting in the grass and everything. My concern there is that it's a $750,000-$800,000 property that it would sell for right now. This virus and everything, there's a property in the neighborhood that listed and went pending in 30 days for $799. We were we were looking to sell at $749. So I think, and ours I think is very comparable, maybe a little bit better. I'm a little biased though, but the big concern is now the jumbo loans not being available because of everything that's going on.
Well, I don't disagree. There's going to be a lot of disarray, and the problem with where we're at now, I've lived through a number of crises in my life, and we have different stages. I'm a few years older than you. There's a number of stages that we have to go through in this process, and where we're at in this process really is the beginning of the process. So that puts us in the limbo state. And this is how I think about it. There's no technical stuff here. This is just my mind thinking. So we're in that space right now where everything is kind of in limbo, because we're early in the situation. It's the 3rd, and we've got to the 30th before they say they're going to make a decision. Now, I would be willing to bet that if this is going to go on for another 15 days or 30 days, probably about the 3rd week of April, somebody's going to be making some changes. They're not going to wait till the 30th.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion, based on things I've been through before. So right now, we've got to get through this limbo period. Now, does that mean that we still have buyers out there? I mean, I'm getting some offers on some properties. I'm expecting an offer on one tonight or tomorrow morning. And they're not super low ball. They're a little lower than we want. So we're trying to do some negotiating right now. I 100% expected that. But the people, it's the same thing, the same story. I mean, the houses are great. They're beautiful rehabs. People love the house. And I'm like, okay, well, then what do we have to do to make this work? I'm willing to give, but you got to give back to me. So we've got to get into getting these deals done while the lenders, at least from a retail side, while the lenders are actually still willing to lend money. Now, because they've all tightened their belts, credit scores have to be higher. There's a number of things. So even if we get a contract with a buyer, just because they're qualifying today doesn't mean they'll qualify next week, depending if the lender changes their qualifications, which we have seen happen in the past and very well could happen. So, but we've got properties out there that potentially, I've got some very good profit that I should normally just be making without a problem that may just be sitting there for who knows how long.
Have you considered turning some of your retail properties that you have for sale into like maybe rentals for the short time being, maybe 6 months, a year, anything like that? Has that crossed your mind?
Oh, that's the first thing on my mind.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
And we will do that if we have to, no matter what. If I've got to put a tenant in a property to just make sure that we're covering a note, I'll do it. I won't even hesitate to do that. But then when we do that, the things we have to think about and then have to make adjustments for is that was money that we were planning on having coming in as income to pay our bills, pay the company's bills, the normal progression of what we do. So how do we replace that income by just holding a property as a rental property for right now? Very realistic situation that we're in. So we're trying to be very creative in a lot of different things that we're able to do. Fortunately, we have some options that we're working through right now. And if we can get all those things in order, then okay, if I have to sit on a property for a while, I still have covered that income from being able to do something else. So especially for your newer investors that don't really, might have a couple rental properties, you're trying to figure out, how to make sure the bills are paid, or you might have a couple properties you were going to flip out there that we may not be able to flip right now. We don't know that. Go ahead. No, so
mention that your rental properties, because you have a good amount of doors. We have like 7 to 11 doors. I don't remember because we would get rid of some, picked up some new ones, and we're in the process of hopefully we were going to pick up 14 new doors in the next 30 days was what we were planning on. Now we don't know how that's going to change everything, but for us today, I think everybody made all their payments as of today for all of our rentals. So we're 100% collected on our like 11 rentals or whatever it is, 11 doors. I know you got a lot more than that. How are you seeing that? Because I know I saw Richard Drake online yesterday, and he was talking about that they had collected with like 48%, or the day before, as of the first of the month, and then obviously more probably the next day. And so how are you looking on your rental?
Well, we're doing the same thing. We're looking at what we got coming in. As of April, I think we're going to be covered with. We don't have an end number yet, but we should be at 85+%. I feel at this point on our rentals by the time we get to the end of the month, because we've had some tenants that have emailed us and said, I won't have all the rent by the 1st, but if you'll give me to this date, I'll have everything in paid 100%. Obviously, we have to work with our tenants at this point because that's just because everybody's in this. So in that situation, what we're doing, but we do have, and I haven't talked to my manager today because it's been so crazy. So I don't know exactly where we're at today on rents being that have been paid. We also do have a good handful of housing tenants. Housing's paying. Now, that doesn't mean that if our tenants can't pay their portion, if they have a portion that they pay, if they can't pay that, I'll work with them on that right now. As long as I get the portion from housing, that's going to cover our notes for those properties. And so, that's kind of the mindset I'm looking at. But I will say this morning, unbelievable right here, Trek sent out a a form, the COVID-19 Lease Payment Plan Agreement. So we have got Trek on our side, which is fantastic,
Yes.
because what this is showing us, so if we have a tenant that can't pay 100%, we're going to sit down with them. We're going to fill out this one-page document to figure out a payment plan so they can pay what they pay now and then put a plan in place for them to catch up on their rents and continue to pay rents. I think this is an extremely important form that just came out for the simple reason that, you know, I'm talking to some other friends in other states, some of our more liberal states. And right now they are, you know, because on rents, it's a very wide story of what you're hearing depending on where you're at in the country. And some states right now, the tenants are banding together and striking to not pay any rents, whether they can or not, which is, in my opinion, 100% wrong. I mean, it's a terrible thing, but some states that's starting to happen. And I don't think it'll happen here in Texas because of the laws and the way that we are in Texas and being a much more conservative state. But that's another reason why we're talking to our tenants. Even the tenants that are doing well, we're still having communication with them. We're not giving them any information about, you know, the unemployment or anything like that because they don't need it. But still staying in communication with them. And then our tenants that have their jobs have been affected, we're advising them and showing them what they need to do to file for unemployment. We're talking to them, you know, if you don't want to file for unemployment, guess what? Walmart, all the grocery chains, everybody is hiring like crazy right now, and they're paying really good salary, hourly rates. So you can go get a job. So, you know, it's not letting our tenants off without paying. I'm willing to work with all of our tenants. You know, we've got some great long-term tenants, and we're going to work with them the best that we can. But I'm not just going to give them months of rent free because guess what? I still have notes, just like you still have notes that we've got to pay. And we're
that's the point, because I think, you know, when this first started coming up and they started talking about what really concerned me is when I started hearing the news that they were even discussing the option of mortgage forbearance, which doesn't mean you don't have to pay it. Just means it may be deferred or you have to pay it all at once when this is all done. But tenants, I was worried, would hear that and start taking it as if free rent time, you know, like, and that's
yeah.
what I'm glad we have really good tenants. So our tenants, like I said, they're 100% paid as of right now for this month. Next month is where I think we might start seeing more of a hit, and then you know, because of all that. But that also brings up, you know, everything else that we were discussing earlier, and the unemployment rate, right? So the unemployment rate, like you just talked about, like a lot of people are losing their jobs, but there's a lot of other jobs they could go pick up out there. Now, I don't know if there's enough jobs at those places for everyone to go get a job, but we were discussing this morning about the stimulus package and some of the stuff that's there to help everyone, and you were telling me that some changes came up. Kind of we didn't get a chance to discuss before this. We discussed earlier, but you said changes happened in between here and there.
Well, the changes I'm talking about are more of the payment protection plan and that stuff, and we'll get into that in a minute. But as far as the unemployment packages that they've got out there right now, I'm encouraging all of my tenants, which we only have a few that their jobs have been affected, which we're very lucky at this point. The unemployment package that they have put together, it's a very good package. You know, and I don't know. I'm like I said, my disclaimer: I'm not an attorney and I'm not an accountant, and I don't play one on TV. So this is just my experience that I'm talking about here. So so everybody do your own due diligence based on your situation. But the unemployment package, there, you know, from what I understand, whatever you qualify for. Say, and we'll use 200. If you qualify for $200 a week, they're going to cut that in half at about $100 a week that you're going to get from the state. Then the federal government steps in and is going to pay on top of that $600 a week for a total of $700 a week. This is just an example. I don't know any true real numbers. I know the $600 I think is pretty firm. but what an individual is getting, I have no idea. So if you can get into this, and this is going to go, this is a 4-month program, unbelievable. 4 months from now, hopefully we'll be far enough along in this where people are going back to work, and lives are being put back together. We still have other struggles in other areas, but as far as the employment situation, hopefully we'll be going in a better direction by then. Just heard on the news, and I'm sure most of everybody else has heard on the news. Our unemployment over the past week or so, we're at like 10 million people unemployed. That's an unbelievable number, So things we're talking to our tenants about. You've got to keep calling. I saw a post today. Someone had been trying to fill out the paperwork online, and their online process had been overloaded, and they shut it down, not taking any more applications online. So you've got to keep calling. Now the lines are busy. I've got one tenant that we're working with who did lose her job. She was in the food business, and she's calling 4 times a day. I said, I'm just encouraging her, just keep calling. At some point, we're going to get through. Keep going online, and as soon as if you can get through online, however you can get through, because obviously all the offices are closed, so nobody's going to anybody's office right now. It's going to be a process. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be a pain in the butt. And we've got 10 million people in the country doing the same thing. So they're very overloaded. What we have to do as landlords and as owners of properties is keep encouraging tenants that are in the situation to keep going this way. And what I'm talking to my tenants about is, if this becomes too much of a problem and too much of a burden for you, let's go try and get a job over at Walmart. They're paying like 12 bucks an hour, 13 bucks an hour. Same with the grocery chains. Let's go get in line to get an application in, because from what I understand from them, they're looking for people. They don't have enough people coming to apply for those jobs. So I think, and I also put out to my tenant, this is a temporary situation. Go get temporary jobs, because this is going to cover you. This is going to pay your bills. This is going to allow you to pay the rent, pay your utilities, put food on the table. And right now, that's what we need to be thinking about. And so that's kind of the story I talk to tenants about. Now, also with that being said, I deal with very few of our tenants. I've got a manager that deals with our tenants, but in this situation, I might have to get involved. And for anybody that has a number of properties that has a manager, I'm just another manager dealing with the tenants. I don't own anything. Nobody knows me as an owner. I'm just another manager helping out, trying to guide people. Just another bit of advice to our landlords. But I've always been that way for years. Nobody knows I own anything. I'm just another manager, trying to help. So we're trying to educate our tenants the best that we can, so we can get them either on unemployment or get them in a job so they can cover their bills. And then we have the leaseback program, the payment program, if we need to use that as well. So that also tells them that it's not just a free ride here. If you don't pay now, we're going to have to pay later. So let's just keep it going. Let's not get behind on payments that we've got to make up down the road. But doing it in a positive way. Like I said, a lot of our tenants, and a couple tenants that we've got right now that we're dealing with this with, these tenants are tenants that we've had for 4 and 5 years, and they want to work, they want to help, they want to pay their bills. So that's kind of a benefit to us as well today. Now, next month may be a different story. I'm only talking for today because, like I say, things are changing around us so fast. So that's kind of my thought process on the unemployment and the things that we're doing to try and get through it and help everybody out.
Yeah, that unemployment rate jumping. Because obviously all the food businesses are if not shut down, they're limited. So there are a lot of people are, like you said, your food industry person lost their job there. So I do feel like when things do come back, there's going to be some businesses that are out, like they just got shut down and they're not going to be able to recover from this. But I think hopefully a lot of them will be able to, and then the stimulus package will help them get back on their feet also. You know, so what do you see as options as a business owner? What are some of your options as a business owner if you've been affected by this and you're trying to keep your employees on and everything like that? Because
Well, yeah,
you have a
there's a lot that's going on, with that, and we've been working through that, a lot of the paperwork ourselves. One of the things that, and I'll just share the things that we're doing and some of the things that have changed. We've got the PPP program, the payment protection plan that the SBA that everybody's talking about right now. Get in line, get your applications in. We are in the process of working through that. We actually have been working through a couple of it. We've been on several webinars with a couple of guys we know that are attorneys and CPAs. And we've also been talking to some of our local attorneys and CPAs about the process. We actually started our process about 3 days ago. First off, and there's two different programs, so we'll just talk about one of them at a time. First program is the PPP program that everybody's trying to get into. This program has got to go through an SBA approved bank. So all of your major banks are going to be SBA approved banks. And a lot of the smaller banks, actually, they're pushing out a lot more banks right now that are being approved as SBA banks. But it's a process. And to begin the process, you have got to get in line right now. We got in line 3 days ago. And so we have been actually having correspondence back and forth with the bank we're dealing with today. We actually thought we would be filling out an application today, but rules have changed through the day, so they're modifying the application to get it to where they can send it to us and it's correct. With that being said, all the numbers that we had put together, we had to go back and change now because of the rules that changed. And with what we're hearing from our bank that we're working with, we've also gotten the same emails and information from the attorneys that we know and that we're working with as well. So that's first and foremost. You've got to get signed up with the SBA bank and get in line to get an application filled out.
And a lot of those banks are only working with their existing clients, right? I mean, that's because we were just talking to our bank connection, and they were saying, yeah, I mean, well, it's a friend who was our bank connection. She actually left the bank, so she's hooking us up with telling us where to go, who to talk to. But she's saying, yeah, these banks are they're only taking their existing customers. You know what I mean? As of right now, and some of them are taking outside customers.
I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true or not. I have not been told that, and I have not heard that. The bank that we chose, because we actually went on a website where we had a number of banks to choose from. But as we were looking through the different banks, actually one of the banks that is an SBA approved bank has a loan on one of our 8-unit property that we've got. So we just clicked into them. This was before we even got to that conversation, but we clicked on them just because we knew that, oh, well, we've got a loan with them, so at least we've got some form of relationship, even though they have no idea who we are.
Yeah.
And they have not asked about that at all. None of that hasn't even come up in the conversation at this point. But they have responded very quickly back to us, which has been very nice. And they've been, as soon as we filled out the initial, who we are, got in line, we got an email immediately saying, we have got your information, you've been put in line, we will contact you in 2 days. And they have fallen true to every bit of that so far. So being an existing client, I don't know how true that is across the board. I would think that for what we do, and we use very little bank money, so I have very few connections, especially with any of the big banks. I don't have any connection with the big banks other than all of our business accounts and stuff like that. And that's all through Wells Fargo. And when we called Wells Fargo, they didn't have a clue what the hell was going on. So we blew them off like that. That was like the first phone call. Like, nope, we're not talking to them. We're moving on. Now that's not to say that other branches, different parts of Wells Fargo. I mean, and this, like I said, this was 3 days ago. I'm sure they all have a lot more information now, and they can give you a lot better answers than they could 3 days ago. That's how crazy and fast things are changing. Um,
Oh, yeah. Our friend at the bank said that they've been in meetings all day and conference calls and webinars because they're all working from home too, a lot of them. And they're having conference calls and trying to figure this all out themselves. Because
yeah,
this morning I woke up to a few texts from some people that we know in the industry that have pretty decent sized businesses and do a lot of real estate and a lot of real estate work here, and they were sending me different articles, different podcasts,
mhm.
different videos about how to navigate through this, and that how can you expect the bank to know everything? They're saying you got to know some, and then you might have to help educate your bank in some
That,
of these.
yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, we're very fortunate to where we've got some avenues of some attorneys that we know and we've done stuff with, and are that they have been a tremendous help in helping us navigate and know different questions to ask and different directions to go. I think we have to educate ourselves as fast as we can right now, which we're all under the gun. This is not going to be a quick education, and like I said, just an example of a very important part of this the PPP loan. This morning when you and I were talking, and I was laying out the criteria uh, for applying for the loan. And this morning it was, all your W-2 employees, all of your 1099 employees, and insurance that you pay, things of that nature. All that was that, and that was exactly how they laid out, and that's exactly how we were going through our paperwork, pulling, our stuff. We get paid through ADP, so that was easy to get at that information. But then Susan had to go back for all of our W-9 employees, so we had to go back and see, who was getting the 1099s and using all that income. And then about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we get an email and actually that was about when we were supposed to hear back from the bank, and the bank sent us a correspondence saying, can't send you the application because we've just had some changes and we have to modify the application. So we're
Mm.
going, okay, great. Wonder what that is. And then within probably 30 minutes after that, we got an email from one of our attorneys saying, all your 1099 employees, everybody that you send 1099s out to, all your contract guys, can't use them. If it's not a W-2 employee, cannot use them. That's a huge, huge change that was made this afternoon. So
Wow, that's one of the things we were discussing this morning. That's crazy.
yeah, it changes the numbers tremendously because we don't have a lot of employees now. So our numbers, so Susan had to go back and recalculate everything what she was doing all afternoon, and because all this, none of this is quick and easy stuff to do and figure out, but she had to go back and recalculate all the numbers based on the new rules. And so obviously that changes the number pretty significantly, and it's going to change that number significantly for a lot of people. Does that mean that it's not going to change again tomorrow? Who knows? It very well may change tomorrow. So basically the rule right now, it was put to me, no W-2, no PPP. So it's got to be W-2 employees, period, right now.
Wow. Yeah, that changes a lot of things because I mean, like you said, I mean, so I have multiple companies, right? So in one company, we have W-2 employees, so that would work there. But in the other company, it's all 1099, and
I hear you. I feel you. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
well, because we
So
were talking about all the contractors and everybody that works for us in that side.
well, the reason that they did that is because let me see what it said here. Because on all of those type of are contractors like that are self-employed people where we're able to file and get applications going now. They cannot fill out their applications till April 10th now, so they're delayed. We're actually ahead of them to get this stuff done. But
From the self-employed people,
do say that again.
from the self-employed 1099 workers.
Yep. They cannot start filling out their paperwork till April 10th. But the fear of the Fed was double dipping. We're going to use their wages, and then they're going to come back in and use their wages again. So double dipping. That's why they cut that out.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of
I mean, I understand it because I know how that works, but it's disappointing because now where we, like us, like anybody else, we're trying to survive this and we're trying to get through it. And anywhere I can get some extra capital to help us get through, we're going to do it. And that just changed that number. Now we can still, get a decent amount. So that's all good. We're going to do that. So, but that's a very big change that happened today. So, so if you get an application that has 1099 employees on there, it's an old application. It's obsolete. Don't use it because they'll kick it back to you and you have to do it again. So just a word of advice for anybody that has filled it out. You're going to have to do it again on the new form that comes out. And Susan may have gotten it already. She may be working on it right now. I don't know because we're in two different offices. So, that's a real big thing right there. We were disappointed, but hey, it is what it is. We still have to work through and get what we can get. A couple other things about the PPP plan. And like I said, I don't know exactly all the rules. I'm not an attorney or accountant. Oh, hey, there's Susan.
I'm listening in the other room.
Hey, Susan.
She just photobombed me. So some of the other things about it. So when you get qualified, what their goal, and of course we don't know because we're not there, so we don't know the outcome. But the goal of the Fed right now is, and the banks is, when we fill out the application, you're supposed to be approved within 1 day. And when you're approved, the money is supposed to be direct deposited immediately into your account. We're not that far along in the process, so I can't say if that works or not yet. I think maybe for some of us in the beginning, it might work. I see a lot of roadblocks just because of the amount of people trying to get into this program. Like anything else, we should expect things to not work quite as smooth as everybody wants it to. I see a lot of bad press about that, which I think is ridiculous because they're not thinking logically through the process, and maybe I just think too logically through the process. But we still have to keep
it's a lot of people. You know what I mean? You gotta understand it's a lot of people, and like some people just want everything now.
It's tons and tons of people. I mean, we don't even know all the numbers from that side, but we've got about $365 billion out there to get our hands on right now, and we need to do everything we can to get whatever that portion is we can get. Now, with that being said, I don't know if anybody knows, but I mean, I've talked to several people today that had no clue. With that money that you get for all that money that you use to pay employees, to pay rent, there's a list of guidelines things that you can pay out using that money. You've got 8 weeks to use that money, or as much of it as you can. Every bit of it that you use and document in that 8-week period goes from a loan to a grant, and that amount is forgiven. You will not have to pay that amount back. So even if you don't use all that money, but use a good portion of it to pay employees, to pay rent, to pay insurance, to pay the things that they have designated you could pay, you do not have to pay that money back. But you've got to keep good records and you've got to document it. And I would suggest, because what we're going to do is we will set up a separate bank account for that money to go into. So it's very easy to track and very easy to document each payment that goes out of that money. But I mean, they're forgiving anything that you use in that amount. Now we're small business, so it might not be that big of an amount, but I've got a company I used to work for, where this is going to come into play very big. They've got about 280 employees. This is going to be unbelievable for them. This is the difference between them staying in business and going out of business possibly. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say is like, you know, I mean, I'm a small business, you know, relatively small. We got less than 10 employees, you know, like, you know, 7, 8, 9 people, something like that. And yourself, I don't know how many you have, but it's not in the hundreds. But some of these companies, you know, that's the whole point of this is going to make the difference. Like some people in 2 months would have been done. They'd be dead in the water right now without this. And now this may allow them to not only make it those 2 months, but also stimulate their business and make it to 4 months, 6 months, and then hopefully longer than that, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely, and it ties in. It ties in with the unemployment, with the amount that the Fed is putting into the unemployment of additional $600 a week. You know, if you lay that out over a 12-month period, you know that equals out to about $55,000 a year. So I think of a lot of my tenants that don't make near that much.
Yeah,
And
it's a good pay rate.
if they get on unemployment, they're going to be making more money than they will be when they're working. Now, one of the great things about this unemployment package, this is going to be a very limited time. After 4 months, which the world will be entirely different in 4 months. The world will be different next week, let alone 4 months from now. But this is helping the Fed and our president and our administration and our treasury and all that is trying to put enough money back in to people's hands to keep this country running, which is crucial right now. If we don't have these things, the country might come to an end. That's a very scary thought for a lot of us. And none of us want that, but these are the things that we have to do right now to get us through that. Now, as taxpayers, are we going to pay for it in the back end? Of course we will. But right now, trying to survive this thing and get through it and make sure our companies survive, that's like the last thing on my mind. So just be honest.
Well, because I was listening to this, talking to somebody earlier, and they were telling me it's like, yes, you're going to get some. Yeah, so for some people, they're going to get, you know, money now. It's almost like it's an advance on your income tax for the future. Almost. I don't know the whole details about it, but you know, there is a way for them to make money back, and it's not just necessarily free money for everybody. You know, there is going to be a back end to where it gets repaid and taken out of your refunds later or whatever. But back to the package you were talking about, where it's forgiven if you spend it all in 8 weeks. So from what I was understanding also is that whatever you spend in the 8 weeks that is for those qualified categories, and I think it's, you know, it's staff, it's payroll, you know, rent, maybe motor vehicles. I'm not really sure of everything that goes in there, but whatever's not spent, you can repay it back. Or if you do continue to use it, you get it at a really low interest rate. So it's like really low interest rate money for you to keep your business running.
Right. The last email I got about that, which was yesterday, and from one of our attorneys, the tax attorney that studies all this stuff and is very, very on top of it. What he said is interest rates. Let me find it here. Interest rates will be 0.5% to 1%. Where they had originally, we were looking at about 3.75, just under 4%. So apparently they have dropped that percentage rate down tremendously. Now, and yesterday also they were saying that they were going to do that on a 10-year term. Now it is a 2-year term to pay that money back.
Oh,
so they went from 10-year term to 2-year term. So that's the PPP program. That's the protection plan. Now there's 2 programs out there. There's that program, and there's the EIDL SBA loan, which is for other things, lost rents, things of that nature. 2 entirely different loans.
That's a very good one to talk about, because so one is for stimulating business and keeping business alive, and the other one is for like you said, like for missed rents and stuff like that. Like in case your tenants do not pay, now you have a way to make those payments.
Right. Yeah. The IDL is more of going to that is a loan. That will actually be a loan, and that's for lost revenue in your business. So kind of, you know, and I have, you know, and we're applying for both. We're going for both. no matter what at this point, just to protect ourselves.
Yeah, cover everything.
And there's going to be a lot more qualifications for the EIDL loan than the PPP. The PPP, the qualifications are a lot less stringent than the other loan. But we're like I say, we're in the beginning of this like everybody else. We're just following directions and filling out paperwork. And when one of our attorneys sends us an email and said, fill this out or do that, as you know, I'm a very good student and I follow directions very well. So that's what we're doing right now.
You have always been very coachable, and you are an action taker. So anything that you're told to do, you always follow through on. So I'm sure you're doing exactly what they say and going to take full advantage of the situation and protect yourself as much as you can.
Well, exactly, and that's what we have to do. And so, with what I'm trying to share with everybody tonight is, especially for anybody that we're just, it's not that I know everything, because I'm far from that. I just might be a little farther in the process than a lot of you, because we have people that have helped us earlier on in the situation, and I want to give you that same knowledge so you can go do the same thing that we're doing. It's a lot of work. I mean, we're spending lots of hours up going through this stuff. It's very stressful for us and everybody else out there. So I'm always going to go back into my whole spill about, that's why we have to stay positive. Our mindset has to stay in a positive place. It's frustrating. We're dealing with the government as much as the government is trying to help. We know that there's going to be roadblocks. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but we've got to be strong and keep filling out these forms and keep doing our research and moving forward. Losing is not an option.
Oh yeah, no, it's not.
It is no option. The only option is winning. And keep in mind, we do all this stuff, we survive this, we get through it, and we will prosper on the other side tenfold. Period.
Awesome way to say it. So kind of like going off of what you just said right there, what do you see in the positive side of things for people that are in the real estate industry? Because I got a lot of calls from people that are like, oh my God, should I even keep marketing? Should I try calling sellers? Are the sellers still going to be motivated? What are you seeing out there as far as what are the positive signs you see still for running a business, for running your wholesale business, or and especially like, I guess, buy and hold, but just on the wholesale side at first, let's talk about that, because do you see that there's still going to be opportunity out there? And we kind of talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's going to be opportunity out there. I have little doubt that there will be opportunity. The thing, because we're in the beginning of this, in my mind, my opinion, is we don't know exactly where or what that opportunity is going to be. We're too early in the game, and we don't know how that opportunity is going to play out. With a lot of the things that the government has done to step in for, not being able to foreclose on people, things of that nature, I think we're going to see different stages play out in different ways. One of the things that I see, and you even mentioned the word a little while ago, that I've talked to a number of people for their own personal properties. They're talking to their mortgage company, and they're trying to get approved to do forbearance for right now on their own home. But as I talk to people, not everybody really understands what forbearance is when you do that on your personal property. And I had a call with a good friend of mine who's already, I mean, he put this in play like immediately. And when I was asking him some questions, he was not giving me the right answer that he should have been. When you do forbearance on your home, like I went on the website for my house just so I could see what they said, knowing that most of them were probably going to fall very much in line with that. So for my mortgage on my personal home, my personal property, if you're approved, they will give you forbearance for 180 days, for 6 months. But what people don't realize, and this is kind of something we went through with Hurricane Harvey, and people lost their homes over this. This could be even at a much larger scale.
Oh yeah, I mean, because this affected the country, not just one section.
Right. So at whatever period if you get forbearance for 6 months, and let's say at 4 or 5 months, you're able to start, you get your job back and you start making payments. When that forbearance ends, all the payments past due are due at one time. You have to catch up all those payments at one time.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I think a lot of people thought they're confusing the forbearance with a deference, where
That's right.
it's deferred to the end and you defer it to the end of your mortgage or something like that. But this is due all at one time, which, and me and you even discussed, is that alone going to put people in an issue? Because some people can pay, but they're going to get the forbearance thinking it's a deference, or not really thinking of the full repercussions of it. And then when it does hit, it's going to put them in a financial bind.
It will put a lot of people in a worse financial bind. I mean, if you've been out of work for 2 or 3 months and you're just now getting back on your feet, and let's say your payment's $1,000 a month, your note's $1,000 a month, and you haven't been paying your note for 5 months. Well, boom, they want $5,000 to get you back up to current. Before, and if you've been out of work, where are you going to come up with that $5,000? Most people cannot do that. So, like Harvey, I think we're definitely going to have opportunities through this. Now, how all of these opportunities are going to play out is still anybody's guess. But I'm still kind of the mindset, and like I said, hey, next week I could be totally wrong, but as of today, I've talked to some investors. They think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath as soon as this is over. I don't necessarily see it playing out that way. It could, depending on how long this goes. Now, if we get to the end of the month and they say another 30 days, well, guess what? All the game changes again. Everything I'm saying now, just throw it in the garbage, because we're going to have to see what happens for the next strategy. We don't have any idea. If we get to the end of the month and we start to see things loosen up a little bit, we see things come back to normal a little bit, then maybe what I'm saying holds a little bit of ground. And I say that loosely because we still don't know. I'm just trying to be honest with everybody. I mean, what I'm saying is what it was based on is happening right now today, and it's just like we've got the Wealth Club meeting coming up at the end of the month, and we've prefaced that meeting for the end of the month based on we should have some data and information by the end of the month where we might be able to build a pattern to help us go into the next month. But it's still, I mean, it's April 3rd, and the deadline for the stay at home is April 30th at this point. So we still have a long ways to go to get there. Lots of things are going to change. Just some of the things that I talked about for the assistance programs that have changed throughout the day today. Listen to the press conferences. Listen, to the different. Well, I don't listen to any of the news. I just only watch the press conferences because I can't listen to all the drama and everybody. The world's coming to an end and all that stuff. But even with that being said, there's still, everything is still up in the air. We still don't have a clue. But we got to stay positive and work through it.
Are you seeing wholesalers still out there marketing? Wholesalers still out there doing their thing? I talked to a wholesaler today, and he actually sold a deal today. Now it hasn't closed, and we have several things in the pipeline that are sold technically, but the title companies are having issues because of everybody being shut down and being able to get payoffs and everything. So on that aspect, it may be taking some time, but there are still some deals being sold out there.
There's still business being done. I have got guys bringing me deals right now. My numbers have changed tremendously, and I'm being very, very cautious. Where I've always been 70, 68, 70, 71% buyer in the past couple of years with the way the market is. Right now, 70% deal is a very high deal to me. I don't know if I'd take on a 70% deal because of the unknown. And I haven't talked to one of my lenders, you know, and I've always been a private money guy. I've always used private money. And right now, all my private money people are, nobody wants to put their money out on anything. I don't blame them. I'm not going to them and telling them that, you know, lend me money. But I do have some avenues where I could get money if the right deal came along.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a few days since I've circled back around and talked to all those other avenues for finding money. But based on some stories I've heard from other people, they're requiring a whole lot, like you had mentioned earlier, they're requiring more sitting in the bank. They're requiring larger down payments. Now that's based on the person that you talked to they were dealing with someone else. Now, how that's working with some of our local guys like Jet and like ILS, you know, they're still telling me that they'll do deals. You know, talking with Sean over at Capital Concepts, they've got business going on, and they don't seem to be trying to jack anybody around. But at the same time, all those guys are investors themselves. So I think that for an experienced investor, that's your best avenue if you need money for a deal right now. And like I said, I've always been a private guy. I've always prided myself on never using those guys, but I've always said I would if I needed to. Well, now's the time. If the right deal comes along, I'll go to every one of them in a heartbeat. Won't hesitate at all to use them if I need to, if the right deal comes along. So far, the deals that have been brought to me, I mean, I had somebody send me a couple of deals at 80% the other day, and I was just like, unsubscribe, delete, don't call me again. I never want to see you, because you don't know what you're doing. I've had some so-so deals sent to me, but I really haven't had any solid deals sent to me. I am talking to a lot of different wholesalers that I work with, and their mindset is, you know, their phone's ringing. They've got calls coming in, but sellers we're still at a point where sellers' expectations are still very high. They haven't, the realization of what's happening and values haven't come into their mindset yet. At the same time that I say that, we're also still in a part of this whole thing where we really don't know where values are going to be. I have no idea where values are going to go, even though I'm saying I'll buy it at 50 or 60%. Is that the right number? It's kind of like Harvey. After Harvey, we were all guessing on how to buy. I just was buying extremely cheap no matter what, but that's pretty much my nature anyhow. So it wasn't that much out of what I do. But I still see activity happening. I still, you know, we've got some properties, retail properties that we finished rehabs on that I'm doing everything I can to sell. Right after the staying home came into play, I mean, it was like, it was dead. There wasn't anybody doing anything. I mean, like nobody existed. And up until this week we're getting showings. We've got activity happening. We've got some very low ball offers. Totally expect that. But we've got some that are coming in not too bad. We're trying to negotiate through them, see if we can get some deals done. If I could sell some of these properties and you know, get the loan, get my lenders taken care of, my private lenders taken care of, throw some more money in the bank for however long this lasts, that's my mindset, my goal. Am I willing to do a little more negotiating than I generally do on deals? Hell yes, I am, because we're still trying to move deals. But that's kind of, you know, that's kind of the play in what I'm thinking. But I think as we go forward, you know, the play is going to be a much more for a buy and hold play than a flip play. I think our lenders are we're going to see it that way with our lenders as well as we move forward too.
I definitely think so. I also see the motivate, like you said, right now we're really in the beginning of this. So the sellers they're still holding on to what their value opinions are. But
Right.
you know, like one seller from last week that one of the guys I work with was like, you know, the seller was expecting 130 before. That's what they were working on. That's the number. And now seeing that, like, he lost his job, I think. He took a big hit in the stock market. He needs money right now. And
Desperate, yeah.
looking at being able to taking an offer of around 80 instead of 130 because he needs the cash now, and that's the only way to make the deal work. we've gone down and renegotiated some of our contracts because of our buyers, trying to help our buyers out, because our buyers are in, difficult situations with their hard money lenders on some of our wholesale deals. So we've had to renegotiate down that way. I think the sellers will start to be more negotiable as we go along, because they're going to start seeing everything set in, and their need is going to start to set in. They don't have income for a little bit, and now with the stimulus might help, and all these the different loans and the unemployment and everything, that might help them for a little bit. But they still took a big hit in the stock market. They're still taking, they still don't have income right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's going to play out in a number of different ways right now, and that we don't know. With the stoppage right now of foreclosing on properties, we don't know how that's going to play out. Like I talked about, people, I know a lot of people are jumping on forbearance because, to be quite honest, with most of our retail lenders, that's all they're offering to the retail buyers, the homeowners. I haven't seen anybody offering deferred payment programs. I've seen them offering forbearance programs if you qualify for it. So you're going to have to go through their qualification to get that. And I'm sure their qualification has gotten much tighter than it normally would be. So things are going to play out in a lot of different ways. I think the biggest thing that we're going to see, in my mind, through all this is the biggest shift I think we're going to see is going to be the mindset shift of people, of investors. And so that's kind of the direction I was going anyhow for doing different things in our business before all this happened. And so that, I don't, we're going to see deals. There's going to be deals to buy. We're going to get to that point. Where that's going to be, when it's going to be, it's anybody's guess right now. But I do see, like I said, I do see some wholesale deals going. I do see, if you're still working on properties as a rehabber, keep working on them. Why would you stop?
Yeah,
we're going to be able
is when you die.
That's right. So we're still going to be able to sell these properties at some point. Now I'm trying to sell everything I've got as fast as possible before we get into that situation where our lenders, our retail lenders for the retail buyer, before they they've already tightened up tremendously, but they might shut it down. Kind of like in 2008, there was a period where they shut everything down. You couldn't get a loan if your life depended on it. So what are our different strategies going to be if that happens? Now, I happen to have a lot of rental properties, and I've actually got a whole lot of them marked to sell owner finance. They were marked to sell owner finance anyhow, but if we go into that situation where lenders won't lend, I'll sell everything I have owner finance if I have to. Doesn't matter. I'll sell everything owner finance because I know I'll have an opportunity to buy a whole lot more.
It's going more that direction, buying to owner finance or buying to hold as a rental. Matter of fact, you said some of your private money lenders are a little hesitant right now. I'm working with hard money lenders also, but some of my private money lenders, I'm actually working and getting creative with them and saying, hey, if you come in and lend me the money on this deal, I'll give you an equity kicker on the property also. So they get equity ownership, equity stance in the deal, as well as interest, or maybe they want to come in and partner on the deal. But yeah, because I definitely saw that they were a little more hesitant than normal. There has to be more in it for them to be wanting to pull the trigger. Plus the prices that we're getting the deals at have to be really good. Like I'm doing the same thing. I had some wholesalers call me today or text me, and yesterday and today, past few days actually, and some of them I'm just like, man, you're gonna need to get that knocked down like $20,000-$30,000 for it to even be close to being a deal.
Right. Well, yeah, and we're talking. We've talked to all of our lenders, all of our private lenders. We've had lots of conversations with them, letting them know that things are okay, letting them know our thoughts, letting them know the things that we're doing, which we've always been very good at doing that. But now I'm also doing I'm doing workshops, and I'm going to be doing lunch and learns, which were already planned, geared very much towards the passive investor, for the different types of programs that are out there that we do also educating them just on how passive investing should be done and how you should educate yourself as a passive investor to protect yourself. There's going to be great opportunities. So I might not be, necessarily borrowing from any private lenders right at the moment, but I'm certainly going to be educating a number of private lenders along with all of the ones that we already have to be prepared. So when the opportunity presents itself, we can move quickly. We can get them into very safe, very fantastic opportunities that we all win at, because that time is down the road somewhere. Don't know where, but it's down the road, and we'll definitely act on it when we get to that time.
Right. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, man, you know what? I mean, so what do you see? Like, we got to wrap this up. We're running out of time here, but so what would you say to everybody for right now? What are what should they do right now? And let's look at it as a wholesaler standpoint, a buy and hold standpoint, and a lender standpoint. What do if you were a wholesaler, and you're all of these, I know you are, so just for other people out there that are just a wholesaler or just a buy and hold person or a lender, what would you say for them to do right now? What would be your plan of action?
Well, if we'll kind of go through them one at a time. If I was a wholesaler right now, I would be out there looking for deals. There's no doubt about it. We have to change our conversation. We have to change our education with our sellers as we're talking and negotiating with them. For a lot of wholesalers that just go out there and chase the dollars, this may be very difficult for you. But for the wholesalers out there, that especially the ones that are experienced and been around and know about negotiating and know about taking care of their sellers and helping their sellers out, I think this is a great opportunity for you. And like with any type of wholesale deal, we don't always get the deal initially when we go out to talk to that person, but by following up, building relationship, building rapport, we're going to get that deal, and we're going to help that seller and move them down the road. That's just been a practice of wholesaling, in my opinion, from the beginning of time, and that's how I've always done it. So I think there's great opportunity for wholesalers.
I think follow-up is going to be very key in these times, because like I said, so we're talking with some people that, they weren't motivated 3-4 months ago or 3 weeks ago, but they're getting motivated now. And imagine this continues to go on. They're going to be more and more motivated as this goes along.
Without a doubt. I mean, the longer this lasts, the motivation will go up tremendously. For the buy and hold guy, who I'm a huge buy and hold guy, I've got a lot of rental properties. I've always been, I've done many classes and many seminars and presentations about how I buy rental properties. I've always been a pretty good stickler about how I buy rental properties. Well, guess what? That hasn't changed. I'm going to be, I'm looking for the right opportunities. I think like I said, we're still very early in the game. I don't think the good opportunities we're even close to get to them yet, but they will come. How long that window will last, how deep that window will go, anybody's guess. Nobody has any idea. But when it presents itself, we will be very prepared to move on it very quickly. From the passive investor standpoint, there are actually some good opportunities out there right now, believe it or not. But you've got to be very cautious. Don't give your money to just anybody for any reason. That's the worst thing you could do as a passive investor. You have to get educated. You have to know what you're doing. You need to know what your strategy is as an individual. And you need to put a plan together for what you want to do and the goals you want to achieve as a passive investor. I think that's key for passive investors to succeed and not get caught up by somebody bad. Remember, when we get in times of crisis like this, like I said, there's some wonderful people out there to work with. I consider our company one of the greatest to work with for anybody. But when we get in a crisis, that is the time when the worst of the worst people come out. And that's what you've got to be careful of. And so that's kind of the workshops I am teaching right now for passive investing is to keep passive investors from doing that stuff. And actually, I've got a workshop coming up, not this Saturday, but next Saturday on the 11th, and it's geared strictly to the passive investor. This is not about anybody that wants to borrow money. This is the passive investor that wants to put their money in safe places and learn how to do that. So if you go to the wealthclub.org website, and you can find out about that workshop I've got coming up next Saturday on the 11th. So that's kind of my opinion of the three different areas there.
Awesome. I was fixing to ask, how can they get a hold of you and learn about that? Because I was about to say that we're doing the same thing for our group. I think that's very big, though. You know what I mean? Like, is educating the passive investors, educating the buy and hold people, especially the passive investors, because we're doing that with our mastermind group and our students, because we're actually on a quest this year to buy 100 doors with our mastermind group, and that's a big part of it, is teaching them how to be passive investors and how to protect themselves in the deal and be safe. So and I was about to ask you how you could get a hold of how to get a hold of you, and you kind of covered that and got out there.
I'll give everybody. I want everybody to know how to get a hold of me. I'm gonna give them the whole gamut here.
You never have to ask Steve for his information twice.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to give it to you whether you want it or not. So you can contact me. You can contact us. You can go onto our website, thewealthclub.org. You can email us at support@thewealthclub.org, or you can call the office 713-644-3500. And if Angie answers the phone and you want to get a hold of me, you have any messages, she will get anything to me, and I am happy to answer any questions, help anybody. We're in a situation where this is not one, but this is everybody, and we've all got to work together as a team to get through it. I love helping our company to achieve what we achieve, but this is bigger than all of us right now, and I truly take the mentality of helping. Our tagline with the Wealth Club has always been investors helping investors, and I truly take that to heart. And this is of all times, this is one of the most important times where we've got to reach out and support each other, help each other, put all differences aside, so we all get through this and we all survive.
Yes, very much so. Man, I appreciate you for being on here. I appreciate all the wisdom and information that you just shared with us, because I do believe in times like this, people expect us to crumble and fall as a country, and and this is a global thing. This isn't even a country thing, but in this country in particular, I love the way everybody comes together. You know what I mean? I love the way everybody comes together in a time of crisis. You see everybody donating to help others that are less fortunate. And giving information, especially right now that everybody's stuck at home. We're kind of in the same boat. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we're all at home. You know what I mean? Like, or at least more than usual. Not all. He's still out there trucking around. But you know what I mean? A lot of the country is on lockdown and stay-at-home orders and everything like that. And even, you live right down the street from me, not too far, and the Walmart right here just put a policy in place where they're only allowing like a few people in at a time, and you can only go one direction. Like, you can't even just wander the store. Like, so things are getting a little different out there, but we're all here to help each other. So if you're looking for Steve, check out thewealthclub.org, right?
Yep.
Thewealthclub.org. You can find us at prosperitygroup.com, and we will have some information on there. We have some upcoming classes. Our networking event will be actually next Thursday, and it'll be online. And when is your networking event, Steve?
Our next networking event will be April 30th, and we'll be doing it online. We'll be doing it via Zoom and streaming it on our Facebook page, and we will start that meeting at 7 o'clock. I've got Tom Berry. We're going to be discussing where we're at on the 30th, which will be a very different place than where we are today. And hopefully at that point, we'll have some data behind us where we might be able to know where we're going and maybe some direction to carry us through May, because this is kind of a month at a time situation right now. So it'll be a great meeting, and we encourage everybody to get signed up. Go online and get signed up for the meeting. Our meeting last month in March, we had over 500 people on, and it was a fantastic meeting. And we're going to be uplifting as possible, but we're very real. We're going to tell you the truth and tell you what we're seeing, and we'll take a lot of questions and have a good time.
Awesome. And yeah, somebody just commented that Bank of America is actually only taking their existing customers. Somebody just wanted to say that.
Okay.
And so all right, guys, man, I appreciate everybody for being on here. I appreciate Steve for taking his time and spending it with us. You know, guys, look, you have Steve's networking event on April 30th. You have ours next Thursday, which I believe is April, what is it?
I don't have any idea.
April 9th. Yeah, I was like Thursday. So April 9th, and then Steve's on April 30th. You know, there's a lot of information out there. And like Steve said, is that things are changing daily. You know, I'm trying to get content out there and doing some Facebook Lives and everything to try to update wherever I know and getting some people in the know on there. So just educate yourself and keep attending things like this art update, the networking event, Steve's networking event. And guys, just, you know, everybody try to stay safe out there. You too, Steve.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.
All right, guys. Signing off.
Okay, bye.
Peace.